have heard that 500,000 children have died. I mean, that's more children than died in Hiroshima. And you know, is the price worth it?
I think this is a very hard choice, but we think the price is worth it.
Democracy around the world brings us closer to peace, or does it push us further from it?
In the short run, it could do both.
Do you think President Bush should be brought up on war crimes and Vice President Cheney and Donald Rumsfeld for the attack on Iraq?
It's clear that things that the Bush administration did, in my mind at least, it's clear that some of the things they did were war crimes.
You know, let's be very forthright, Juan. George W. Bush and Cheney committed war crimes. They had surveillance of Americans illegally. They unconstitutionally pursued wars in Asia. They slaughtered innocents, and they were considered war criminals by many people.
We know, because we've seen what you've had to say on the subject, how you regard Bush and Blair's record in the Middle East. Do you think Obama's no better?
In many ways, it's worse.
Why?
I can say without exception or equivocation that the United States will not torture.
They run their own network of secret prisons. They very well may have been responsible for the deaths of, as Scott Horton has revealed recently in Harper's Magazine, for prisoners at Guantánamo that were believed to have committed suicide. Their families are attempting to sue Rumsfeld and 22 other officials, but the Obama Justice Department intervened and removed Donald Rumsfeld and the others as defendants in those cases. And at Guantánamo, the torture continues.
In his rambling 3-page letter to President Barack Obama, the Libyan leader says, regardless of the hurt the U.S. has caused Libya, quote, "You will always remain our son, whatever happened." Gaddafi urges Mr. Obama to stop the NATO air campaign, which he calls an unjust war against a small people of a developing country. Libya, he says, has been morally damaged by the NATO campaign more than physically. But Gaddafi makes no offer to step down or to negotiate in that letter. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton dismissed the message, saying Gaddafi knows what he must do: leave power and leave Libya.
I don't think there is any mystery about what is expected from Mr. Gaddafi at this time. That is an international assessment, and the sooner that occurs and the bloodshed ends, the better it will be for everyone.
State Department officials say there have been other similar letters from Gaddafi before. This one was passed from Gaddafi to senior State Department official Jeffrey Feltman and then passed on to the White House. In defiance, Gaddafi says you can't build democracy with missiles and aircraft, or by supporting the opposition, which he calls, quote, armed members of al-Qaeda. And in another odd moment from this Gaddafi letter, he tells President Obama, "We still pray that you continue to be president of the USA." Wolf?
Very weird. I
have 2 words for you: predator drones. You will never see it coming. You think I'm joking?
So, I mean, that is the land of unconfirmed.
Yes, we came, we saw, he died.
Did it have anything to do with your visit?
No, I'm sure it did.
They claim that on the campaign trail in 2012, President Obama told aides that he is, quote, really good at killing people. According to the authors, Obama made the comment last year while discussing drone strikes.
But you also recently said that the Middle East would be better off with Gaddafi, Saddam Hussein, and Assad in power. How does...
I didn't say Assad, but we certainly have not gained anything with Gaddafi. And you look at what happened. I mean, Look at Libya. Look at Iraq. Iraq used to be no terrorists. He would kill the terrorists immediately. It was like, now it's the Harvard of terrorism. Iraq. If you look at Iraq from years ago, I'm not saying he was a nice guy, he was a horrible guy, but it was a lot better than it is right now. Right now, Iraq is a training ground for terrorists. Right now, Libya, nobody even knows Libya. Frankly, there is no Iraq and there is no Libya. It's all broken up. They have no control. Nobody knows what's going on.
So the world would be better off with Saddam Hussein
100%.
and Gaddafi in power?
100%. Now, as far as Assad is concerned,
what about the human rights abuses?
Let's talk. Well, you don't think they're happening now? They're worse now than they ever were. People are getting their heads chopped off. They're being drowned. Right now, they're far worse than they were ever under Saddam Hussein or Gaddafi. I mean, look what happened. Libya's a catastrophe.
A man addressing an unseen crowd. Big strong boys for farm work, he says. 400. 700. 700. 800. The numbers roll in. These men are sold for 1,200 Libyan pounds, $400 apiece. You are watching an auction of human beings.
Just take us home, we want to go, no food, no water, nothing.
Victory was a slave.
We know that some people are being sold.
Yes.
Some people are being sold. Is this something you've heard about? Can you tell us about that?
Sure.
Tell us.
I was sold.
What happened?
On my way coming, I was sold. Merciless beating. If you look at most of the people here, if you check their body, you see the mark, they're beating. With electric, even your boot, they took something like a sharp object. Understand? Most of them lost their life there. I was there, the person who came to buy me give the man money. They take me out home. So the money was not even much.
Other migrants now start to come forward with their stories.
They took people to work by force. Even when we are at the seaside, when we are working the work, they will be beating you when you are working the work. I'm doing your work. They will be maltreating us.
We did some things that were wrong. We did a whole lot of things that were right, but we tortured some folks. We did some things that were contrary to our values.
Were you surprised to hear the president actually say torture?
I was. I think his use of the word torture could have political, diplomatic, and possibly even legal implications. We reported this morning in the Daily Beast that the Senate report that President Obama was speaking about explicitly decided not to use the word torture just for this very reason. They didn't want to wade into a legal debate that could have far-reaching consequences for the people implicated in the report for using these harsh interrogation techniques.
Libya is a disaster. Iraq is a disaster. Syria is a disaster. The whole Middle East. And it all blew up around Hillary Clinton and around Barack Obama. It all blew up. Now, one thing about Assad, not a good guy. I understand that. But we're backing and spending billions and billions of dollars on backing rebels that we have no idea who they are. And a lot of people think they're ISIS. I happen to think they're ISIS, but who knows?
Over and over and over again, whether it is releasing 5 senior Taliban terrorists without understanding that these individuals will likely return to active warfare against the United States, whether it is in the case of Iraq, not understanding the threat posed by ISIS. I'll tell you a great question we ought to be asking right now is whether the Obama administration has armed ISIS, these radical Islamic terrorists, whether they have armed them in Syria, because we know they're arming some of the rebels, and we haven't had an answer as to which rebels they're arming and which they're not.
But if you think that's bad, wait till you get a load of this next story. President Obama has granted a waiver on using children to fight wars. So which countries got the waivers? Oh, only Sudan, Yemen, Chad, and the Congo. Why? Well, according to a presidential memo to Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, it is in our, quote, national interest to keep sending military aid to those nations despite their failure to end the practice of using child soldiers and comply with the rules passed by none other than President George W. Bush in 2008. When you can't keep up with George Bush's war ethics, you know you've sunk pretty low.
We have just gotten word former President Donald Trump has been indicted by a grand jury in New York. Trump was under investigation by the DA's office for his alleged hush money payment to adult film star Stormy Daniels during the 2016 campaign. So as we await more information, Fox News has just learned this from two law enforcement sources that Trump has been indicted.
Left-wing media is having a field day with former President Trump's indictment.
What a time to be alive, my friend.
Really, what a time to be alive.
We're all going to be glued, leaning forward to our television sets on Tuesday if all of this unravels as it looks like it is.
Before tonight, presidents in this country were kings.
I thought maybe it would never come. I used to think, what does it matter if it came? I didn't know it would feel this good.
Michael, who's more pissed right now, Melania or Donald?
Definitively Donald. You know,
I am not usually here on a Thursday night, but you know, things happen. Deep breath, everybody.
The J in Donald J. Trump now stands for jail.
Certifiably giddy. And the ladies of The View, Greg's favorite, throwing what they call a celebration of the law. Watch.
I called it. Did you? We feel good. So it really is a celebration of the law. It's a celebration of the law and how it applies to all of us. Donald Trump finally won a popular vote yesterday.
The judge that presided over that case where the Trump family was found guilty is the same judge presiding over Donald Trump's 30 counts.
Read your legal.
Okay. But there seems to be a disconnect with top Democrats. The administration that loves to bash MAGA Republicans all of a sudden has very little to say.
Mr. President, do you think that the charges against Trump are politically motivated?
Go ahead, Judge. Judge?
Yeah, when he was president, he wasn't interested in war.
Yeah.
And he wanted to end the war in Afghanistan. But, you know, these people, as you watch them on television, I mean, these are lawyers. I mean, Sonny, whatever her name is a lawyer. I mean, that is even beneath her. These people hate him so much that they literally, they have this psychological disorder that they've earned, you know, the Trump derangement syndrome. They created it and they earned it. And the whole idea that nobody is above the law. Yeah, Hunter Biden is above the law. Hillary Clinton is above the law. Joe Biden is above the law. He's got documents that were never supposed to be taken out of a skiff. He was a senator. He's got these documents that, forget about it. If you've got a president, that's one thing. I mean, at least they are entitled. There is a question as to whether or not they can have the documents. But Joe Biden is stealing classified documents when he was a senator from skiffs. Look, the truth is here that these people just hate. The left they've been the haters from the beginning. They were the ones who said, Donald Trump got elected. Unfriend anyone who likes Donald Trump. Don't talk to them anymore. Let's break up the families. Let's not talk to them anymore. Joe Biden every day does a dog whistle to the left with those MAGA Republicans. They're horrible people. They create the division, and then they feed on the division and the hate. And this is a product of it.
There will be no third term. I can't stay forever. You're in my house. This is what a feminist looks like. Oh! Hey, Prince, what's going on, man? Purple rain. Sing it. Purple rain. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound. Go in a little bit. All right, release. So in love. Bro, do you even lift? Well, I lifted the ban on Cuban cigars. That's worth something. Obama out.
about justice. It's not about agenda. It's not about mobilizing people. It's about dialing for corporate dollars. These two parties have sold the U.S. government and the American people to the highest bidders.